1, 2,
Standing
go.
by. You know it.
Here we go.
Welcome. You are listening or possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Steve Morey, and Bill Zanowitz isn't here right now, and neither is Caleb Alexander McKenzie. But Bill will be joining us a little bit later. Caleb, unfortunately, had to be called away last minute, but we are happy to be graced with the presence of Corissa Grant.
I scared them all away.
Yes, must have been.
I have that
can't.
effect on people.
But she is here to talk to us about the Worthy Chaos series Redemption. That is currently, I believe, on its 9th issue. That's on Kickstarter, up on
It's only
Kickstarter
been a year
right
and
now.
2 months. Whoops.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. You've been just kind of like putting this out like monthly or like,
Every other month,
every 6 weeks or so. Yeah. Just pretty
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So, but yeah, let's talk about this first. If you'd like to introduce yourself to our listeners and let us know what got you into comics and especially what got you into writing this.
Yeah. So, Corissa Grant, for anyone that didn't hear that, I started as a role player, because I got obsessed with the game Resident Evil 2. So when I learned about role play after I watched the movie Stay Alive and I was looking up the true facts of Elizabeth Bathory, I had come upon MySpace, believe it or not, and they were the actors' pictures. And I was like, I know you're not the actors, so why are you using their pictures? Like, oh, we're role playing. I was like, how is that legal? You could just use anybody's picture. And they're like, just pick a character and be that person. And I was like looking around my room and I had this huge cutout of Leon. I was like, I'm going to be Claire. So I role played for Claire Redfield for 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And during that time, I had created this story in my head, mostly just based at the very beginning on the angelic weapon that the story is based around and the angelic father and all that stuff. And then it kind of grew. And I hadn't started writing it until now. I wrote with people for like 5 years. And for anyone that doesn't, I have to explain, it's not the tabletop, not that cool. Or not that nerdy. I don't know. It depends which way you're looking at it. But I never did the tabletop. These are the kind that you write what you're doing and you write back and forth. And I'm a dyslexic, so it started as one-liners for 2 years, and it was and then it was para for 2 years, and then I started to grow, and now I can do like 6,000 words per sitting. So I got a little better. But yeah, so I wrote with all these amazing writers, and they all loved the story idea and they all wanted the role. And for some reason I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm waiting. And for 11 years I held on to this freaking role. And then the day after I met my co-writer, I asked if she would take the role. And she's like, I don't take roles, but yeah, I want to take it. I was like, well, I don't give roles. So it worked out. And so for 3.5 years, we wrote this story and we passed the 1 million word mark. I think right now, for my last calculations, it was 1,001,030 words or 1,000, something like that.
But who's counting, really?
Who was counting? It winds up being about 13 novels, which winds up being about 108 issues so far. 45 of it is this series here. So it's a little bit longer series. It's split into 5 books, but they kind of all, go together. So because we were role players, we did not write the story intentionally for a comic book. So I just jumped into this like a moron, being like, how hard can it be? Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. That's all. Nothing big. But I think we were around, we had just finished the 45 issue. So we had just gotten a series 1 done. Like there's an ending and yeah, there's a series 2, but if I wanted to end it at series 1, it's a great ending and you can finish it. So I was like, oh, we should probably do something with this because it's such a great story and I love it. And truth be told, I always get made fun of for this. I am not a very good writer, but I am an amazing storyteller. So like it wasn't good, it's not good for novelization. And because I always get asked, why don't you just release them as books? I was like, that would have been cheaper. But one, I already had it written, so it doesn't change for me. But if I do the comic book, I get to see my characters like come to life. But mostly it's because of the way I write. Now, I did try once to write like you're supposed to, the whole show don't tell thing, and it hurt my brain. It was like I got like 2 paragraphs. It's like, this isn't fun anymore. Screw this. But it wasn't intentional, but the way that I write, it just fit so perfect as a comic script. Like it's just everything. I don't even have to change it. I just move things around and put them in order and everything. So it worked out really, really well. And it was kind of like it was meant to be, and I just had no freaking clue. But what makes our story unique, because it was through role play. Now I write the story and I write everything Serafina, but when you're reading it, my co-writer writes everything Draven. So like all of the the speech, the thoughts, that's all of my co-writer. So you have these 2 unique personalities, and it's super easy to tell who writes each, because Serafina, the angel descendant, she talks nonstop and really thinks, and that would be me. And then you got Draven, who barely talks and he thinks nonstop, and that would be my co-writer. So you can easily tell which one we wrote.
That's cool.
But yeah, so we kind of got a little carried away. We're still writing to this day. She gave me a chapter today, and I can't write back because she's like 4 chapters behind. I have to wait. I write way faster than she does because she has to do all the proper words and shit. I was like, who needs that? But yeah, so we're decided to release it, and we are on issue 9. However, we're in the middle of having 14 drawn, so we're slightly ahead.
Oh wow.
So yeah, my artist is super fast. And I just got made fun of today. I get made fun of all the time, but specifically I got made fun of because someone was like, why don't you slow down so you like can save some money? And I was like, well, funny story. My artist quit his full-time job to draw my comic. He had never worked in comics before, ever. He never been paid to work in comics, and he was the only one. I spent thousands of money and time and hundreds of artists trying to find the characters that I saw in my head that someone else couldn't see it. I don't know what their problem was, but they could not see what I saw in my head. And this artist comes along when I was in, like, I had just lost an artist that kind of was like good enough. They weren't perfect, but they were the closest after 6 months. So I wasted $5,000 on them. They ran off with like my $3,000, and then I had to start over and all that fun stuff. It was worth it to find my artist, but at the time it did not feel like it. So I was at the point where I'm like, I have no trust, in the artist field. I have way too much trust in life. But so I was like, listen, I posted on Facebook and Reddit, I didn't know it was a choosing beggar thing now, but everyone took it. I said, I'm looking for test pages. If you're picked, you're hired for a 45 issue series, but I'm taking submissions. Here's my chapters if anyone wants it. And surprisingly, like 5 people signed up to do it, and they were working on it. And my artist comes around and he's like, can I submit a page? And I was like, I did not like his style at all, because he was a portrait artist. So like, it was very realistic. And I was kind of like, that's not what I want for my comic book. But he was super nice. And I said, listen, I have 5 people working on a free page. You have 2 options. You can either do a free page and I'll look at it first, or when they're done, if I don't pick one of them, I'll pay you for a page. He goes, nope, do a free one. In 24 effing hours, he had 5 panels, penciled, inked, colored, and lettered. And they looked exactly the characters in my head. And I was like, well, fuck, you're hired. So I paid everyone else to go away, and he's been, chained to his basement since drawing these. But he just doesn't, and he's gotten so much better. I mean, if you look at issue 1 and 2 compared to 9 or 14, the art is just so enhanced, you know. I mean, he went to school after this, and you know, in the middle of it, and it's just awesome how much he's grown to what he was. So yeah, so we he loves the story. He's not just Jonas DaCosta. He's not just a paid you know, artist. He's part of the team, and he loves the story. Maybe not as much as I do. But he did go away for a month when we first started too. And my husband says, don't bother him when he's on vacation. And I was like, I'm not gonna bother him. But so I didn't. My husband knows me very well. He's like, don't message him any ideas or scripts. I was like, I wasn't going to. So 2 weeks in of his vacation, he wrote me and he goes, I miss drawing the story. He goes, I can't wait to get back and draw the story. And then I had a countdown every day from him where he's like 10 more days. And then so he obviously loves drawing it. I think they had like an emergency or something like 2 weeks ago. And I said, you know, take as much time as you're off. We're only like 5 months ahead. I mean, you could take some time off. And he's like, well, I can't take too long because I'll miss it. I was like, you just take whatever you need. So he doesn't usually work weekends. So he took Monday through Friday off, which is withdrawals, man. I had no pages. It was driving me crazy. And then Saturday, like 20 pages come through. So he had done it when he wasn't supposed to. So that worked out great. But yeah, so we're all obsessed with this freaking story. And it just feels like it was meant to be written. So, I mean, my credit card is not as happy as I am, but I mean, you know.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. Like, you know, we hear that a lot sometimes with, you know, writers who are looking for an artist or, you know, looking for somebody who can actually draw or realize in some way, you know, the vision that they have in their head. And a lot of times, like, you know, there's sometimes compromise, like, well, you know, this isn't exactly what I saw in my head, but like the way that the artist draws it is very cool and dynamic, and it made me think of
that's what it was for the first one.
But like, you know, being able to find an artist who not only is really loving the story, but also is able to sort of bring out the images that you have in your head and put it on the page. And it is kind of cool hearing that he's like, his style has evolved. And I think maybe in this kind of situation, because he's able to work on the same story with you, like he's able to take this journey with you. And is it JC Literal? Jessica Literal?
That's my co-writer.
Yeah, the co-writer. That like, you know, the three of you can like go on this, you know, journey together, building this, you know, this book. And like the fact that you guys are so far ahead, like that is what, like when it comes to Kickstarters, you know, you can see all sorts of, you know, people who
different
are
stages
working different stages, you know, like there are some people who are like, hey, I need to get this money together so I can get an artist, or I need to get this money together so I can pay the artist I had for the one issue that we were able to put. We
don't do smart here at Chaos. We're just,
you know, it's definitely, you know, the fact that you're so far ahead. You're on 9 now. You've got 14, like basically up to 14 ready. I mean, that's actually really, like, how does that, you know, I have a feeling like the reaction from your fan base is very positive on that, because it gives them something to know is coming down the pipeline. Like they're not just saying like, oh, well, you know, we'll have like this 1 or maybe 2 issues funded, and then like maybe a couple of years will go by and maybe issue 3. It's like, no, okay, so I'm gonna, you know, I'm supporting this issue now to get it published, and then I know that like 6 weeks to 8 weeks later we'll have the other one that's like ready, that's out for the Kickstarter, that we can go ahead and do the same thing too. So
and I should say, I ship out within generally 24 hours of it ending. Like I literally ended on a Thursday night because I have Fridays off. So like that I could start shipping Fridays and Saturdays. And like I'm always ahead. So this is issue like 10. I have 10 here. So I already have 10 printed. I just sent 11 and 12 to the printer yesterday. And we're already gonna order the hardcover in about 2 weeks for the next one. So yeah, everyone's like, why do you have to do it so soon? I was like, I just want to hold them. I just want to like have them in hand. So,
I mean, it is the coolest thing when you finally have something that's like, I've been working on it for such a long time, and now I can hold it. I can open it up, smell the paper.
It's so funny because I have different stages of thought processes. Like sometimes I'm like, anyone can write a comic. It's, you know, and print it. It's not a big deal. And then the next day I'm like, I can't believe people are paying money for my comic. That's so cool. but it never felt as real as when I got my hardcover, because like it's just this permanent thing that you can't just roll up and throw away. And I think this is 222 pages. It's issues 1 through 7, and I love the hardcover, and I love all of them because it's, you know. But just having the hardcover, I was like, I got a trade, and then I get made fun of a lot. But they're like, how do you already have a trade? It's been like 7 months. I was like, 7 issues, 7 months. I got a trade. So yeah.
There you go. Well, and speaking of, for the first volume, what's how would you describe the story for somebody who's just coming into it? They, maybe they just saw like the cover for issue 1, or they're like, hey, I want to get that hardcover to see like the whole first arc.
Yeah.
Like how would you describe the story to them for somebody just coming in?
It's very, so people like to relate it to something. So I always say it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Supernatural in the town of Silent Hill in the world of Resident Evil. And the first book is 7 issues, and it's very much Silent Hill. They're in a town that's merging with hell, and all these creatures are coming up. You've got Anubis, you've got hellhounds and ghosts and vampires, and everything are coming up. So each book they're connected, but they're like different environments. So like 1 through 7 is like the Silent Hill. Book 2 is they're trapped in a haunted asylum with zombie mental patients, giant salamanders like the Lickers and Resident Evil, and ghosts. So it's I Lickers were the bane of my existence, so I had to put them in my freaking story. And you're not supposed to have favorites, but I'm going to say it anyway. Book 3 is my absolute favorite. So that's why 14 is like, I'm super excited because 14 is the start of the zombie apocalypse story where they're trapped in a city, that's just full of zombies, and they run into, 2 survivors that are not Leon and Claire, but I think of them as Leon and Claire. I just love it. And I think we're on page 10 inked pages, and it's just, the zombies look amazing, and it's just so effing perfect. But so book 3 is the only story that I wrote before I met by myself with my co-writer. I redid the entire thing, but in my head, that was the only story that I had. And then we got carried away and did like 12 more. But that was the only book I had, and it's 10 issues long, and I absolutely love it. So like the fact that I can't show people pages is like heartbreaking. Like I was like, you have to see these zombies, and like my closest fans, I can show them and not have them say it's spoilers, and but I loved it. I love it so much. But so it's pretty much, you have angel descendant Seraphina and demon descendant Draven, and they're soulmates, and they've lived through each life. And there was a prophecy written that if an angel and a demon ever fall in love, they cannot be separated or a war will break out. But something happened, and their fathers got involved, and they're trying to break this prophecy up. So the thing is that angels can't have kids. So Seraphina was created from the angelic weapon that her father used to use to store souls when he judges them on, earth and goes to heaven. So he created her, and after he created her, something happens that I'm not allowed to spoil, but something happens that he needs the weapon back. So he is using the war between heaven and hell as an excuse, because the weapon that Seraphina carries is activated by her soul. So both sides want it because they could tip the scales of the war towards heaven and hell. He wants it for the other reason, but he's using it as an excuse. However, if they use her soul to activate it, she can never reincarnate again with Draven. So Draven would be by himself, which I can't again spoil it, but let's just say it's not good to take away his soulmate. He's a demon descendant, and it just goes very dark, and it's not good for the planet. But so there, it's pretty much a survival horror, adventure that they're trying to survive against all this stuff, and they're learning as they go that they're these descendants that they didn't know, and all this stuff, and obviously they're against losing their soul. So just one of those things.
One of those things.
Yeah,
like,
one of those things.
I guess I might lose my soul. Oh well.
Yeah, whatever. Depends if you're getting like a good meal for it or a new car. Then so they don't know that their fathers are after them. They have no memories of their past life. They just start fresh each life. And something happened in the last life that made this one different. Their guardian angel did something that he didn't know was bad, and it caused this whole thing. And so he doesn't know what's going on. He's pretty stupid. And he's such an ass to write. I swear to God. So I don't know why I did this to myself, especially as a dyslexic, but he can't use consonants. Like he can't say don't. He has to say do not. Drives me up a wall. It's my fault. I did it. I don't know why, but I did it. So I have to always make sure, because as a dyslexic, I always write the opposite. So if I mean don't, I put do. So there's this whole thing. So I'm like, I have to make sure I put the right one. I have to make sure I didn't do the consonant, whatever you call it. And so it's such a pain in the ass, but whatever. I have it. By the way, I got this little Lego. This is the guardian angel right there. There's a little Lego.
So that's one thing that I did want to talk about. The
my thousands of merch.
Oh my God. I
Queen
like
of merch. That's my name.
You've already created this merchandise empire around this, which I think is brilliant. I mean, that's such a great way to get people really, really excited about the characters, about the setting, and all of this. So tell me about Plushie Anubis and Hellhounds. Like, how did that happen? How did this? How like the licking creature salamander that you have right now? Like, how?
Yeah.
Did that happen?
So I'm trying to think of where my stuffed plushie is in here somewhere. I just took him to a book signing, so now I have to figure out. He's got to be back here. Hold on. So this is my as I showed you the liquor. Here he is. I don't come too far because as I fall on everything. All the merch that people see is like 40% of what I own. That just shows you how much merch I had. So all of my plushies are handmade except for the Anubis plushie. So he's awesome. He's absolutely phenomenal. And he came with this, I'm not going to call it crappy because people are buying it. It came with the foam staff that is not my favorite. So I kept it because obviously it's cheaper for people. But I also offer the removable one for $10, and like he could take it off. It's a 3D printed thing. But so I ordered 100 of these because, of course, I don't wait till people order them. I just order, because that's the way I roll here at Chaos. So he's absolutely, he cannot be more perfect. So the handmade ones, this is my salamander. My giant salamander, who is started in issue 8. So he's an 8 and 9, and they are just as obnoxious as the liquors I remember. This is my hellhound. He's got a broken horn like he does in the story. This is the one that Anubis plays fetch with, who I absolutely love. And it's so funny because I'm going to tell you. So he doesn't have a name in the story, but in the spinoff when I wrote it, she named him. So his name is Croc, which is because hellhounds are poisonous to angels. But he liked her. So he was like licking her or whatever. So she's like, I'm going to name you Croc because it's short for crocolite, which is a gorgeous red gem that if you handle it too much is poisonous. So he's his name is Croc, but everyone probably thinks it's because like crocodiles and stuff. But in this story, nobody knows his name because Anubis doesn't talk. So I'll slip it in there somehow. She'll say something sarcastic to him. This is my plushie zombie mental patient. And the straitjacket works because, of course, it has to work. Because my plushie queen was like, do you want a working straitjacket? I was like, what a stupid question. Of course I want a working straitjacket. Which makes me, since you can take it off, like I'm tempted to make him like a Hawaiian shirt or something for the next one. We'll see. But yeah, so you can get any number you want for the patient number. I have mine as my birthday. Most people do their birthday, but if you know somebody that's crazy, you can just put their birthday on the back and it can be like your little... People have been calling voodoo dolls. They're not voodoo dolls, but if you want to. Weirdly, my mother bought one. I don't know why. She doesn't like horror. She doesn't read the comic. She buys one every time, but she thought he was adorable. So there's that.
I mean, he is kind of adorable. Hey, we actually do have a comment here from our friend John Westoff. OMG, Corissa Grant is invading my whole life.
Yes. Yep. John, you know what? John can bite me because he talks shit about my plushies. But what was that, John? Did you go out and get a plushie made? Yeah, that's right. You went out and got a plushie made. And who told you where to buy it? That would be me. So yeah, you and your little crocodile can bite me. But which I'm gonna buy, by the way, because it's a plushie, because of course.
Well, it's a plushie crocodile, so it probably like the bite won't hurt so much.
Yeah, you know, and it's so funny
bite.
because I really think that the crocodile is like my spirit animal, because from the age of 5 to like 22, I always dreamed about crocodile, like alligators. And then the only reason why I played Resident Evil was because the alligator comes out of the sewer to bite Leon in the commercial. So like I literally went out to buy PlayStation and rent the game because of this damn alligator. So exclusive note, there's an alligator in every book. So but so this is the new plushie for next one, so you get an exclusive. The next one starts April 29th, and it is our vampire, well, I guess it's chameleon vampire bat. So like it's a chameleon, but he's got like the wings and stuff, he's got the fangs. So it's a vampire bat that can change the color of wherever they are, which I think is cool. And he's got a wire in his tail, and his name is Chatty for chameleon and for Batty, and he also talks nonstop. So he becomes a regular too, which is really, really annoying. And another thing I shouldn't have done, because now he has to be drawn in every single thing. But I think he's adorable. So my artist probably does not like him as much as I do. But yeah.
Well, mean, how did you get the idea of, okay, let's get some of these characters, or some of these creatures, and let's make some stuffed animals that we can, that people can buy, or the minifigs too, like that you'd shown just recently.
So
those minifigs are kind of neat too.
So I get
hold that thought. It looks like we have been joined.
Woohoo!
By a wild Bill Zanowitz.
Hello, hi Carissa. My apologies for being late. It was the other half's birthday. So we had
then you shouldn't stay long unless they went to bed. I made the mistake on my husband's birthday. Now my husband celebrates 2 birthdays. One where he was adopted because they put the wrong date on the application, and his actual birthday. And for both of those, I had back-to-back work and interviews. So I had guilt trips for about a month or 2. So but
man.
So yeah, that was not good. I felt really, really bad. But that's the life of a comic creator, right? So, but yeah, we were talking about the much merch that I have. So I actually got made fun of a lot more when I first started, because they're like, you're new, why do you have merch? You're not supposed to have merch. And I was like, well, I wanted it, and now it's tax deductible. Generally, there's only like one made, like one for me, one for my co-writer, and then one to sell. So these are more exclusive. There's only 3 salamanders made and all that. And only one's for sale. But yeah, the more merch I find, the more I buy. And I'm mad because I was at the AtlantaCon, whatever it's called, FanX, whatever it was, the last
Expo, I think.
It used to be Fandemic, and now they switched it because I had a bad name, I guess. Anyway, it's like a month ago. And I found somebody that makes rugs, and I was like, I need you to make me rugs. And they never wrote me back. Like, I'm so mad they have not written me back. But now, because I discovered this merch I did not have, I'm on the rampage to find somebody that does rugs. I don't know why she wouldn't write me back. I wrote to her on Instagram and an email, and her rugs looked so nice, super thick, and we worked on a quote and blah, blah, blah. But now I have to have a rug because of this freaking woman that has not written me back. Whatever. But I also have, so I can't apparently sell this on Kickstarter because it's a replica. I don't know why it's stupid, but I have, so this is our soul dagger. It's what can steal the soul and you can't get it back, and all that stuff. And it has Nokian symbols for the angels. However, you can't have these on Kickstarters, which I did not find out until after I had it made. It's just 3D printed. But for anyone that wants to know the Easter egg in the story, because every issue has an Easter egg. So this handle is from Krull, and only the older people will get that. But it's still fun. That's what the handle is from. Yeah. Well, Krull's also, I have Liam Neeson. So if you have not seen Krull, it still holds up today. I don't care what anyone says.
It has young, hot Liam, surprisingly hot Liam Neeson.
That was like one of those things like, oh, maybe you're gay. Because he had a really hot leather vest with the and I was like
very ruggedly He was very good looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain parts of that movie that just like I could still hear those creep
Mhm.
things in the beginning that kill, and it sounds like the bug screaming. I still hear
Mhm.
that in my head.
Yeah.
But I
And
love
one thing
that.
about that movie, there is no wasted time. It
Yeah.
is
Oh yeah.
it is
Yeah.
completely well fabricated. They don't waste any time with exposition. It's just a really tight
Yeah, nobody
film.
needs to be explained. Just watch it. And the good part is, I don't know who owned Atari, but it was actually a really good Atari game. This was not an ET. This was not ET
Really?
dying on a flower. This was a really good Atari. Yeah. Or the grass, the Coleco where the Smurfs die in the grass. But yeah. It is.
I had that Atari ET game. Oh man, it was the worst. Like you would get like the 3 pieces of the phone, and you would still die. You would fall in a hole.
It made no sense.
You would fall in a hole
Like,
and you couldn't get out. And you were
why
like,
am I
oh.
in a pit? And how do I make him fly with his net? It was so freaking annoying. That was supposedly voted the worst game or the most confusing game of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like apparently there's a big pile somewhere that someone like just they all threw it there and like burned them or something.
They found the
pile or
landfill
something?
where they
The
put them
landfill,
in.
yeah.
There's
the
a documentary
landfill,
out
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I heard that. So, but there's 2 games that I remember. Yar's Revenge, which I was obsessed with. I don't know why. It was like what
So
a
good.
mosquito. I don't even know the point. I just love the game.
It was a
and then
bug-shaped spaceship.
yeah. I'm like, well, I don't even know what's going on, but I have to play it. It's like crack. So, but yeah, the crawl. I mean, you had the heart attack where you have to turn the timetable for the spider. You have to do something. I don't remember what it was. Oh, you have to get the fireball from the chick in the middle. Then you have to get out before the spider timer runs out and it comes after you. There's nightmare fuel for you. And then you have to ride the horse, but you have to get back to the castle before it disappears at sunset. Otherwise, you have to go back to the freaking spider and do it all over again. And for some reason, this was enough in my life. And I don't know how people survive now with all the crap they got, but that was all I needed. Freaking 2-bit game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome game. So yeah, now I got to go watch Kroll this weekend. Thanks a lot.
We got to do that. That's one of the things that we do here is we reference something or something comes up and then now it's like, okay, that's all.
Oh, I'm full of nostalgia. You mentioned someone like because of the stupid Crow remake. Of course, I had to go watch the real Crow. Which by the way, I met James O'Barr for anyone that and I had his trade paperback. And what cracks me up the most is I waited 30 years for his autograph. And he said the exact same thing to me as he said to another podcaster, but he said it first, so I know it wasn't a lie. But I said, I've been waiting 30 years for your autograph. And he said, I'm so glad I didn't die on you. And I was like, me too. But then he said, I told him I waited 30 years and he said he glad I didn't die on me. I was like, me too. So yeah. But I had that graphic novel for the longest time. And of course, the movie is Brandon Lee's legacy and all that fun stuff. So but yeah, so I had to go watch and I still think it holds up. My husband had never seen it before because he's had I don't know what they did to his childhood, lock him in a closet or something. I don't know. He had not watched like Roger Rabbit. I had to have him watch Roger Rabbit. He didn't watch Ghostbusters. We had to watch it on the 30th in the movie theater. Like, what is with this guy? Like, he's already 8 years younger than me. So we have like nothing. I can't do any references with this jerk that I married. And then he doesn't watch movies.
Corissa, I can completely understand. My other half is 2 years older than me, but his upbringing was like just a few straws short of Pepperidge Farm remembers. Up in
Pepperidge Farm,
and he
I
like
love that reference. Well, Family Guy, I remember everything.
And let me tell you, like the Little Rascals, for me to be with somebody where the Little Rascals is completely foreign, it's tough.
It's heartbreaking, man. I do all the lines from The Simpsons. I do lines from the best 80s movies, and he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Whatever. I still keep him around. He's a good guy.
Gotta have him around. When you're not busy writing, not busy, putting together comics.
I see him for like 4 seconds.
There is somebody else who lives here I can hang out with.
Yeah, I hear him stomping around sometimes. So I always make fun of him because he's like 5'6" and he wears like a size 12. So I always call him the Hobbit, which of course he didn't get for the longest time. So I I was like,
And
you
here
have
you are
to
making
like a
comments.
Hobbit. He's like, what? Now he loves the look. He likes everything you. Okay, here's the secret to getting my husband to like a movie. You cannot show him the trailer. You cannot. He will not like it. That looks stupid. I don't want to watch that. But if you make him watch it, he loves it. Loves it.
That's
We just watched Thanksgiving, which I really think was supposed to be a horror movie, but it was hysterical. So we thought it was funny.
it had like Justin Long in it, and you know he's starting to become like a new Scream Queen because he's been in so many interesting horror movies recently, like Tusk. He was in Tusk. He was in.
I haven't seen it yet, but I had
Barbarian.
a post that said it's kind of funny. So I had 2 posts like back to back, and they weirdly and scarily had similar answers. And it was, what movie would you recommend if you were in Mystery Science Theater 3000 and your worst enemy cannot turn it off? Like, what movie would you make them watch that they cannot turn off? But then I also put, what is your guilty pleasure? And similarly, scarily, some of them matched. But Tusk was one of them. What was the other one? There was a couple of creepy ones that they need therapy, but there was another one that was like Tusk. Oh, Skim Mink. I don't know what the freak it was.
Oh, Skinamarink.
That one, yeah. Those 2 are ones that I now have to look up. But I've been busy with really bad shark horror movies, so I watched Ghost Shark, Cocaine Shark, which by the way, there's no cocaine in there, and Puppet Shark. No, Doll Shark.
Shark.
Which I had to watch because it was a plushy shark that comes to life and kills you. How could you not watch that?
I mean, it does sound Oscar worthy.
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, there was this one scene. You have to watch it for this one scene. It's free on Tubi. Is that how you say it? Tubi. So there's this part where they apparently wanted this black lab, which if you know a black lab, they have not a mean bone in their body, growling at the shark. But because you could have played like, how to say it, play with the toy. You could get them to kind of growl, like keep away. No, they didn't bother with that. So instead they had growling sounds and they just kind of zoomed in and out, but the dog was like smiling and like happy and like, really, really weird. And then I'm guessing by my, intelligence up here that the dog was eaten by the shark because there was like little droplets of ketchup that was left behind. So I'm going to assume that he ate the dog. But to have this zoom camera hear this dog growling, but you can tell that the dog's like panting and happy and like wagging its tail. That alone is worth watching. And then for anyone that wants the bad horror movies, Valasa Pasture.
Yes.
That one I'm assuming is supposed to be stupid because on the screen it says VXF fire burning car or whatever. So I'm assuming it was supposed to be funny, but he wore a T-Rex outfit and it was just a really weird movie. I loved it. I could totally watch it.
It's a pastor who turns into a velociraptor, sort of. Yeah, that's available on Prime, Amazon Prime, apparently.
Free. Yeah. I also watched Llamageddon. That was the other one I watched, which, by the way, I could not get through it. I love the cartoon in the beginning, so no one else get tricked. Just watch the cartoon. And then I had to skip to this part where the llama has laser eyes. So like it just looks at the car and blows up the car, and it was like the worst flame over, and the girl's screaming, but all it is a flame on the screen. And then there was another one where the llama like knocked the heart out of the guy, and then beats the girl up by punching her with the hooves, and breaks her neck. Yeah. So I could not get through it though. The people were just awful. They were the worst actors ever on the planet. Like awful. But yeah, so we watched. We
hope that they were in on the joke. I think that's the thing when you watch terrible horror movies, you always kind of hope, because you know that like somebody thought that this. There's always one actor that's like, this is my big break. This is me putting in my dues. I'm like, there's somebody's gonna watch this and say like, oh, he'll be perfect for the next like Timothy Chalamet movie. Like I'll whatever, I'll be in the back. But no, I mean, a lot of them you really hope that they're kind of in on the joke, that they kind of get like this is not.
Well, so like with Doll Shark, my favorite part of Doll Shark, besides obviously this happy-go-lucky dog that was growling,
happy dog.
There's this one scene where, and you could have taken any shot ever. So the whole thing is the father sends the shark doll to his son, right? Which he put the shark tooth of a shark he killed in the plushie which haunted the plushie. That's what the whole thing is. So he's on a ship or shoreline or whatever, and he's looking at a picture of his son and saying, I wonder if he got the toy, while the toy is in the picture with him. So then you find out that it's a still from the next scene of him holding the toy. So not only could they not take a regular scene shot of this kid, but they had to get the next one in black and white, and he's holding the shark as he's like, I hope he got the shark toy. I wonder if he got the shark toy. So that was the weirdest thing, I think, that I'd ever seen. Like, I'm just like, really? Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, this has been a ton of fun. So Bill, one of the things that we were talking about with the book is that right now it's on issue 9 in the Kickstarter. And what we'll do is we're going to place we're going to put up the Kickstarter link here, during the live stream. And then also later on, we'll be sharing that link. So anybody who wants to come check it out, like they can go check it out and support it. I did want to see, just want to make sure I have the date right. That issue number 9 is going to.
It's live until the 28th, I believe.
It's 28th, yeah. And again, like you mentioned earlier, like all the previous issues, you can
everything's on
through the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have tons of ketchup tiers. You could buy the PDFs. You can buy PDFs in the background. You could buy just issue 1 if you want. You can buy issue 1 PDF for $5. And links are great, but I always tell people that you could just search Worthy Chaos. We are the only thing that pops up. There's like 9 of them, but we are the only thing that pops up. Actually, there's 10 now, I think. 10 or 11. I don't know. There's something in there. But so we're always on there. Our pre-launch is already set up for the next one already. So we're always on there, either pre-launch or live, because I have no other life to go to. And that's just Kickstarter galore. So nothing else in my life. I think I have a husband, like you said, upstairs stomping around, but Kickstarter is mostly it. So. Well,
and that is again one of the things that I do have to say I'm really really excited about and really impressed with is the fact that you are so far ahead already that like each Kickstarter is like, okay, well this is just to to get this issue out. By the way, we're already at 5 issues up.
Yeah.
That like, okay, you get this issue in a couple months, you'll be getting the next issue in a couple months.
You're gonna get your issues,
which is pretty cool, and also already getting the collections together. Having the hardcover for the first 7 issues, and then already planning the second collection for volume 2. Like I think that's pretty awesome. And of course, the toys.
Yeah.
The plushies, the minifigs.
I have a lot of creators, John, but I have like 9 creators that have copied me to get plushies. They don't listen to any of my advice whatsoever, but they will copy whatever I do. So I figure. What is it? Imitation is the strongest form of flattery, except for when John does it, he's just copying. I do have a ton of plushies, and I get made fun of all the time. So if you ever hear they're making fun of an indie, it's probably me. And I will tell people, do not do what I do. Like, it is the stupidest way to do a Kickstarter. You are gonna go broke. And I always say that if in couple of years or something, if it's not as popular and we're doing a podcast and there's a different background, like a library, I probably lost my house buying these comics. For now, you can see it's still my house. So far it's going good. But it is not a cheap thing. It's not a cheap thing to do.
No, I mean that's definitely one of the things that we hear about from a lot of people, and it's a good thing that the crowdfunding is available for something like this as well. And you can also, if you're not buying it through Kickstarter, you also do have the Worthy Chaos website where you can purchase things as well. So that one, we also have the link for that one.
Awesome.
WorthyChaosComics.com. Bill, I know you kind of jumped in here a little bit late, but is there anything you wanted to ask or?
Well, I don't know what was covered, but I just want to say that, I saw some of the materials and I'm really impressed with it, and just all the best of luck with the.
I like your shirt says "I'm here," and now you're here. So.
Oh yeah, I'm here for the booze. It's
well, I love it. Very well done. Yeah.
Love
So
it.
but yeah,
I
but
was actually gonna come just sit down and what I had, but at dinner, like so much of the meal ended up on my shirt that I just,
are those like graphic novels behind you?
no, these are all CDs and
Okay,
other
that was
collections.
gonna be my. I was like, I'm gonna probably say whatever I choose is gonna be wrong, but that was gonna be my second guess. But yeah,
yeah.
that's a lot. That's a pretty big collection.
Yeah, it's scary. It's
So
honestly scary.
if it makes you feel any better, you fortunately cannot see them because they're scattered around the house. But I have pretty much the world record for the most Donald Duck items. So I have over 4,000. And the world record's for 2,800. So I just have been too lazy to count them all. But yeah, so now all my money goes to this. So the Donald Duck fans out there are safe. But yeah, there's no more buying anything except for this comic stuff. But fortunately, I love it because I get plushies. Yeah.
Vince Tenebra here, acoustic insulation as a comment.
Yeah. Well, I always forget to mention this, but we actually have 2 of our own songs that were written and performed by Permissible Indulgence, and the lyrics are on the Kickstarter. They're like $3 each in the add-ons, and if you listen to the video, the first song you hear is the new one. You can't hear the words because it's not there, but there's a part that says zombie zombie. It's a zombie song, and my only one person knows it, so when we're on podcast she sings it, no one knows what she's singing. But then the second one is our first song, so you can hear when you pay $3 you get the instrumental and the vocal of the song, so it's really good song. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There's nothing I can't find to spend money on or to buy or merch
or to merchandise. That's
now I'm after the rugs, so that's my new thing. The damn rugs.
The Worthy Chaos Empire. You can get the book. You can get the song. You can get the rug soon. Coming soon.
Soon. Yeah.
Crawl Knight.
Yeah, there's
and the
like
Crawl
that
Knight.
I don't even set, like, there's mugs over here in boxes that I have not shown anybody. I have, other 3D statues. I have other coins that I haven't sold yet. I mean, there's a ton of stuff around here. The new coins and necklaces and stuff. I'm like drowning in my own merch. So that'll be the new. She died, but all the merch falling on her, and her legacy will live on as merch queen. So.
But that's also really good because that, when you go to a show, when you go to a convention, you've got something for everybody. Which those is really good.
It's quite the bitch to set up, but people are always like, "What the hell?" Like, it's just like I'll be in Nashville, June 1st and 2nd. If anyone wants to go to the Nashville Comic-Con and the fairgrounds, I will have my ton of merch, and my Anubis plushies should be there. I'll be playing with them, I'm sure, while I'm waiting. But I love the Nashville Con because it's just busy enough. It has just enough stars that people go, but not so much that they won't go around and shop. Like Lexington was awful. Like I want to attend Lexington, but to have a table there was awful. Too busy, too many stars. I missed them all erratic when I couldn't have saw them. So it was so loud that you couldn't hear anything. But man, Nashville is awesome. It's just the right amount of crazy,
Nice.
Just enough chaos.
If you ever want to come like a little bit further east, Charlotte Heroes Con is really big for artists and creators.
That's huge. It's huge. And I almost went this year. I almost went.
Yeah. And there's no like movie or TV stars.
It's all just comic content.
It's all comics.
Yeah. I might have to do it next year. Do you go? Do you guys go?
Oh yeah, we go every year.
Yeah. Nice. So maybe I'll set
unless one of us gets COVID.
No,
that was me.
You don't say this.
Or one of us has a gout attack at the hotel and is in a wheelchair for a day.
Wow, that's dedication.
I did get to push you around the auction, though. That was cool.
That sounds awesome. I haven't even attended it. I really do want to go. I plan all my vacations around cons because it makes the con tax deductible. It makes my vacation tax deductible. But yeah, I think I will plan for next year because I looked at it and it looked very scary. So I do want to try to attend it. But it looks huge. I mean, it looks really huge.
It is huge, but they do really good by indie creators, especially. But there's always a lot of space and a lot of
it's like wasn't it like I don't know 2,000, 4,000 tables or something?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, because they have like
at least 1,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got a lot.
Yeah, they got a lot.
But
awesome though.
you know, and you're not competing with like TV and movie people or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Fanboy last year and I was so mad because I wanted to go wait in line to get Sean Astin's autograph, but no, I'm behind the damn table. So I could not go, and I missed Kevin Smith's, and so I rather attend them to have than have tables, but I will be at Nashville because I can go still see the stars. My husband watches the table; he cannot talk to anybody, so all he does is text me to come back, and his code, quote unquote, word is kettle corn, which I said first, that's 2 words. And second, they can't see what you're texting. Why do you have a code word? But yeah, so I'll be talking to another indie and I'll see kettle corn come up on my screen. And I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go. So yeah, good times.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, I'm just really excited that you joined us for tonight. And, unfortunately, Caleb couldn't be here at all. I know he would have had a good time. So.
Well, I'll have to come on again when he's here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe October, because I should have my next hardcover, and it's my 2-year anniversary on Halloween. So, yeah. I started last Halloween.
Halloween
was my first day as a Kickstarter, and then I celebrated my 1 year coming this past one with the hardcover and just any excuse to do anything on Halloween. So
hey, it's a good excuse. And a book like this where it's it's a horror book, it's supernatural, it's got a lot of the elements that sort of make that exciting. I think that's perfect time to really celebrate that.
Yeah,
with the genres. But cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. You guys are awesome. Tell the trader that left to that he was missed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna
he's scared. I scared him off. I get it.
What I'm doing now, I am sharing the links to both the Kickstarter as well as to the main website. So for anybody who is, watching through YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch right now, or later on, if you're not watching live, the link is available right there, below the video. So,
well, thanks again, and thanks for the ramble about my story. It's always appreciated.
It's awesome, and thank you for indulging us and going off about horror movies and crawl.
Yeah, I will come on just for horror movies one day. I trust me, it happens all the time. Podcasters you want to do a Resident Evil only episode? I was like, yes. So, and Nightmare on Elm Street, I watched for the first time when I was 7, so that is my favorite movie, Dream Warriors. So I just got Robert Englund's autograph after standing in line for 4 hours. I was a tiny bit less of a fan halfway between the 4 hours, but I got it back at the end. So it's all good.
You go in as a big fan, and then 3 hours later, you're like, why am I in this line? I don't really like the guy that much. And then you're standing there with him, and you're like, I love you.
Well, the thing is, I love the guy, but he talks. Timed it. It was between 5 to 10 minutes per person. So there was only 50 people in front of me. I did not think it would be a 4-hour line. There was 200 people in Norman Reedus's line, and we were done in 90 minutes. But he did take my hardcover, and he signed his the page with his Easter egg. His sweater is in one of the issues, and then he hugged it because you didn't really write this. I was like, I did, but so he has a copy. But anyway, yes, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'll let you have your show back.
All right,
and you do whatever you do as an awesome show. So
okay. Much.
Bye, thanks.
You have a wonderful night, and thanks again
so much. Have a great night.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad she was able to join us.
Did it go well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's so much fun.
I was talking, but I couldn't hear you where I was. So I did see the start of it. I'm sorry for bailing on you for a second week. But now I got 2 Eve Harringtons. Yeah.
So, 2 Eve Harringtons?
Because I know Caleb took the reins last time. Oh. And he's not on the show tonight, but for a very interesting reason. I don't know how much we can disclose, but It's pretty
yeah.
cool, I thought.
It's
so
very
he
cool.
does
It's
have,
very
like,
work related.
6 hours of driving, that poor guy.
That is the worst. And it's like,
Oh.
you're in a big state
I'm gonna fill in this.
and you got to drive 3 hours to get to where you're going. In an emergency situation, 3
Yeah.
hours down, 3 hours back. Oof, man. So he's probably still on the road right now. So.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh well. So how was the birthday dinner for?
Dinner was fine, but we got so much food. We probably gonna have like 3 meals out of it. And like I said, like way too much of it ended up on my shirt. But no, he had a good time. Because the dinner was what he really wanted. He wanted to have a nice dinner. I didn't get him too many gifts, but I did. I'll send you, like, he loves like the STP stickers from the 70s and 80s, STP oil.
Yeah.
And I found like 2 actual ones from the 80s. And I got him a shirt that's which is the 70s design of the STP oil. So he's a car head, just for people who don't know. So so
that's cool. That is pretty fun.
I think he had a good birthday. It's hard to tell, but
it's it could be like whenever I take Jason out for his birthday. No matter what we plan, it almost always ends up being at Red Robin. Like, no matter what, it's like steakhouse, awesome. Let's go here. The wait's too long, or our reservation doesn't work. Hey, Red Robin's not too far away. Let's get your birthday burger.
We tend to go away for my birthday most years, and that was actually our first trip after the pandemic in 2021. Was a trip away. And there was one time we were up in, like, they're not long trips. It's like we'll go to Albany or Berkshires or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this was like somewhat in the Albany area, and we had a Cracker Barrel that was right by the hotel. And we ended up being there 3 times, because it was like, it was it seriously was like, it was the hotel, like literally next to it was the Cracker Barrel. We ended up being in the Cracker Barrel 3 times.
You must have consumed so much ranch.
Wow. It's for what it is, it works, Yeah. And those creepy stores that are inside, and
You ended up with like 15 of the little golf peg games, and you don't remember buying them. Like, that always
I didn't do that, but I did get some things. I got 2 stupid things. I can't remember what they were. And I also remember, like, on that same trip on the way up, we hit a Denny's, just for like road trip lunch. And this was when they had a Voltron premium, where it was a drink. What do you call them? Like the tumblers. And you could put the Voltron thing on your head. It was pretty funny. I have that somewhere.
I don't remember that. Hey, Vince Tenebra here. Bill, I may have a couple from the 70s, couple of the STP.
There's another car guy there, Mr. Vince.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's always good. Happy birthday.
Those were a lot
Mr.
harder to find than the 80s ones. But,
yeah.
So. So what do you say? Like, we each do a book and wrap up?
Yeah. And if you have any geek gets or anything, because I actually do have a geek get that I did want to mention, just because
I have a Wolf of the Week. I have everything.
Awesome.
Just because I'm late doesn't mean I'm unprepared. Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, did you want to go first, because you do have a Marvel book that you wanted to talk about?
Sure. So for my book, I wanted to talk about, now this came out, I think, in December, issue 1, Spider-Gwen Smash, which I believe is a 5-issue miniseries. 5 would make sense because of development in the storyline in the first issue. So I think 5 would make sense. It's really hard to figure this stuff out because, nowadays with solicits, even though things that are intended as miniseries, they don't want shops to buy like that. So sometimes you'll have to like really dig deep to find it's like one of 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that and that seems to be both the big two doing that. But anyway, so this came out, I believe, in December. So I think there's 2 more issues after this. I've got to pick them up because I have every Spider-Gwen appearance, and this is very important that this time around it's Spider-Gwen. It's not Ghost Spider, because nobody's calling the character Ghost Spider anyway. So that was nice to see. So this is Spider-Gwen Smash. So where is Gwen Stacy been? She's been through a lot of multiversal stuff, and this was really nice that they set this mini series, just right back square into Earth 65, and we start off the series where she's playing a gig with the band, which is great to see the Mary Janes back. They haven't had a gig in a while. She was really bad with practicing. And one thing that I think is a really nice development is she, after everything that she's been through and, been to like different versions of Manhattan and, cosmic stuff and that version of Sue Storm that she had all that shit with. And, there was a lot of stuff going on with Gwen in the past few years, the trans-dimensional relationship with Miles, there's a lot that's gone on. So she's home and she's really enjoying spending time with her dad. And there's some really nice scenes in that. So she's trying to balance, just trying to get stuff back together, trying to live like a fairly normal life after all these cosmic adventures. So she plays a gig with the band and it goes fairly well, but there's an influencer who wants to be a supervillain who disrupts everything. So Gwen becomes Ghost Spider, and the girls don't really appreciate and it's actually very comical, the whole sequence. I don't want to give stuff away because there was one line that like it was one of the laugh out loud lines, but just accept my words that it's pretty comical what goes on after the gig when she becomes Ghost Spider. So she's talking with Mary Jane, and Mary Jane's like, we've got this offer to go on tour with this hot band as the opening act, and we want to do it, but you've got to promise no Ghost Spider. Please, no Ghost Spider. Doesn't matter if the building's burning. It doesn't matter if if like alien robots are coming to massacre everybody. Please, just no Ghost Spider. So Gwen agrees to that. So who is the band that they're going to go on tour with? It's a band called Dazzler and the Uncut Gems. And this version of Dazzler and her band is an interesting lineup. The drummer is Lila Cheney, and the guitarist is Rick Jones, and their manager is Natasha Romanoff. So, in keeping with the Earth 65 tradition of just weird circumstances, right from the get-go with Matt Murdock, just weird circumstances that these versions of these characters are in this particular world. I don't think I ever had Natasha as a rock group manager on my expectation card. But they decide they're going to go on tour. And as they go through this, of course, something happens at the first gig where Gwen has to go Spider out. But it turns out that both Natasha and Dazzler, they're aware because they've had their own dimensional adventures, and that kind of bonds them immediately. And so they're going to go on tour. They did one gig. They're going to go through three more gigs, which, as I said, that kind of makes sense. But there's someone pulling the strings behind. So we don't know exactly who, but I got to tell you, this was so refreshing after a few years where Spider-Gwen didn't feel very Spider-Gwen-y. If that is, if that's a stylization people can accept. The art is very Rico, which is nice to see. It's by a penciler who I've never heard of before, Enid Balam, and the writer is Melissa Flores. And unless I'm wrong, I think there was an annual, but I do believe this is the first time where the principal creative team were all female on Spider-Gwen. I believe. I'm not, I don't want to put hand to Bible on that because there's been a bunch of miniseries. The property has basically propelled itself, the last 3-4 years on miniseries. But especially, the conceit of her being in a band was one of the most enjoyable things when the character first hit, that they're dedicating it, principally to that in this series. It was like, okay, it was like, Bill, okay, here's one written for you. So I was really happy to see that. And it's just a vibrant, really, really fun romp. And can't say that it's been can't say that that's been the status quo for the character recently. And like I said, it more than anything, seeing that it's titled Spider-Gwen, immediately gave me, the giggles, that, they get it,
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, that's awesome. And like
really happy. And I think you'd really like this. I think especially when they get to the Dazzler and the Uncut Gems, because you literally turn that page and you're like, oh.
Well, it almost, what's funny,
enjoy this. Yeah.
What's funny about that is that it almost sounds like it could be sort of a gem in the hologram situation, except the rival bands actually kind of, instead of being the misfits, they're actually kind of cool, and like, friendly, and kind of understand the whole, superhero alter ego / bassist situation that Gwen's going through. I'm really impressed. I'm really happy that they actually brought Spider-Gwen as Spider-Gwen back.
Yeah.
Because there has been a lot like multiversal shenanigans that have been going on because she's become such an important character.
Yeah.
In that Spider-Verse kind of world.
Right. And that's principally how the character's known. And that stuff's great. I don't want to say it isn't, but going back to the roots, and it's so weird saying that because it doesn't feel like the character is that old. And what is it, like 10 years maybe now?
About 10 years old. Yeah.
Like at least 8. At least 8 it's been.
Yeah.
And it's just a really nice reset for the character. And, again, it's going back to what made that character special, but at the same time, it's a story that's forward moving and not necessarily steeped in, I can't say 8 years ago is nostalgia, but it's
life moves fast in the comics.
It's acknowledging where the character came from and trying to, make it progress, but in a different area than it has been in the past few years. So
yeah,
really fun. And I've got to get the other issues. I've got to get.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you because it seems like the Spider-Man universe has been good to you this year. So far. Spider-Man #1.
It's so funny because like DC guy trying to get caught up, and these 2 books this year have really knocked me out. I mean, not Ultimate Spider-Man was like, that's like Citizen Kane, and this is, I don't know what's an average 1940s 38 film. I don't know, Holiday. But
the gangs. It's the gangs all here. Works. It's whatever the Alice May vehicle.
And especially because like I have not been impressed with the touch points where I have dipped my toes in the Spider-Verse recently.
Mm-hmm.
The Dan Slott's own series Spider-Boy I could care less about. And to be able to go to something, unfortunately it's alternative universes, but there's something there that's really enjoyable. So
yeah, that's cool. I'm
flip.
That's awesome. So for me, again, continuing the tradition of not having a lot of big 2 stuff, but when I first came on to Comic Book Bears, the publisher that I was always talking about was Valiant. When Valiant had their big resurgence, like that big every other episode or so I was talking about Exo or Archer and Armstrong or
there was the stretch where if you weren't talking about Valiant, Matt was
exactly.
Yeah. We had a Valiant book every week for at least 5 months.
Oh yeah,
at least 5 months.
But I haven't really talked too much about Valiant, and I'm not going to talk about Valiant today. But what I am talking about is again something that I've talked, I've talked about this company a lot over the past couple of years since they've come on the scene, and that is AWA artists. I forget what the name was. It was like Artists with Attitudes or
Yeah.
artists,
So, is there a
but
connection to Valiant? Is this where we're leading?
no, but just
Then why
like
did you
this
talk about
interesting.
Valiant? Oh, you're just
Well,
talking about
because
AWA, like might be your Valiant right now.
yeah,
Okay.
and the fact that AWA also, aside from doing like a lot of really interesting miniseries that aren't necessarily connected to each other, they're just sort of one shots, kind of like a very indie publisher. They have their own connected universe. So here's the Valiant connection in that they've been building this sort of connected universe over the past couple of years, and the sort of the whatever the inciting incident of what created all of these superhumans is this worldwide pandemic. And ironically enough, it happened about the book started coming out about the same time as the
Yeah,
COVID pandemic.
yeah. Like let's say
No,
let's like at the same time.
at the same time.
At the same
Not
time.
like it was not inspired by COVID. It had nothing like these have been if anybody's like worked on comics before, it's taken like it can sometimes take years to put stuff out. And it just happened to hit at the same time as an actual pandemic. But unlike COVID, people who survived this actually came out with superpowers. And so they had several books. The Resistance series, kind of namely, has been really sort of pushing this. So Resistance Uprising, Moths, Knighted, the Joneses, Erratic, and I think like a few other things here and there. But they hadn't really had anything really big that connects to this sort of universe for the past couple of months. But they did come out with You and I. And this just hit in February. And it's the letter U, ampersand, the letter I. Beautiful book. JMS, who again is one of the big architects of the interconnected superhero universe here at AWA, and Mike Choi on art. And let me throw some graphics up here for those of you who are watching. This book is very interesting. One, I think a couple weeks ago I talked about Somna and how Becky Cloonan and Tula Lote would kind of switch back and forth and create like different styles completely throughout the book. Mike Choi as a single artist is doing the same thing. And really kind of the conceit here is that you, letter U, is this gentleman who wakes up with no memory of who he is. But he's fully invulnerable, super strong, super fast, all these things. And he's also mentally unstable. So things that he sees are not necessarily how they really are. And Mike Choi does a very interesting thing. So when you see things from Yu's perspective, they're stylized, bizarre, extremely sort of like almost alien and painterly. The colors get very, deep, and there's a lot of like, manipulation of the art. Meanwhile, the actual like reality is definitely a lot grittier, bloodier, what have you. And it's very interesting. And this is also contrasted with the character of I. I is unfortunately is another survivor of this pandemic, but it doesn't seem like she has any powers. She unfortunately is kind of at the mercy of her uncle and aunt. Her father and the rest of her family is all dead from the pandemic. She has no money. She has no place to go, and her uncle's kind of an asshole. Her father left her all this money to take care of her, but instead of doing that, they basically just kick her to the curb and are like, well, if you need the money, then that's your fault. This money is to help take care of you, but we're not going to just give it to you. And so she ends up homeless on the streets, and that's essentially where she meets up with you. So and that's kind of in the very end of this. I don't want to give any spoilers away how that happens. But one of the things I do have to mention about this is the every issue comes with a variant cover that is basically a romance comic cover. Goes back to the 50s and 60s, the Marvel romance comics. And you have a lot of these really interesting sort of, you have a lot of the thought bubbles with something, something kind of
this
cutesy
is
or odd.
exactly like an issue of My Love or Our Love Story.
Exactly. And there's so many, there's several of these. Every issue is going to come out with a variant of this. So if you like that aesthetic, just for the variant covers, because obviously the interiors are all the same. I recommend this on that alone because the art is beautiful, and there's a lot of artists that are contributing to these romance covers that I think are going to pique some people's interest. But again, Mike Choi's art on the interiors, gorgeous, just fun. Like he packs the panels, like he stacks the panels. There's so much, in these, in the way that he lays out his pages. And he does like some really interesting focus points and all that, but also, especially with Yu's perspective, he'll switch back and forth and it just looks, it's so surreal. It's very interesting. So I do recommend this. You and I, if you've been following any of the Resistance, grouping interconnected universe that AWA has been putting out, definitely pick this book up because it's more, it is connected to that. It's part of that. But also if you haven't been following that at all, it's a pretty interesting book, and I like the way that it's laid out. So, if you're looking for something interesting and new, give it a shot.
Nice.
So, that's my book.
All right. Well, we're going to start wrapping this show up, and one segment that we're heading towards the end is something we call Geek Gets. And Steve seemed to be very happy that he had a Geek Get this week. Sometimes he doesn't. It's his own fault. So apart from that pretty cool Batman poster in the back,
it's the Batman for the Gargoyle of Gotham, Raphael Grampa's book. That's, I think 2 issues are out. It's a 4-issue mini series with the Black Label. Looks pretty cool. I thought that was kind of neat, so I put it up. But my Geek Get is actually, it's a Kickstarter that came in, and it is the John Lee Non-Lee collection.
Oh, nice.
From our good friend John Horsley and Kate Horsley. Of course, it is signed, which is kind of neat. But also, it came with so many goodies. Some of them I cannot show because they're a little bit risque. But other than those pictures, I'm going to put over there so I don't accidentally show them. Tons of stickers, tons of art cards, and even some advertisements for even more books that are coming up. So I thought this is just a lot of fun. There's so much stuff. Like I opened up the bag and just like all the stuff fell out. So I was like, hey, this is great. And I think I lost a little sticker. But I just thought it was really neat. I've already, I've already read most of this already, but just getting this in my hands was a lot of fun. So, yay. Thank you, John.
Nice. For my Geek Gets, the Superpowers line continues from McFarlane Toys. And this, actually, within the last week, I've got 2 of the, I don't want to say variants, but they're variants of popular characters. The first one that came in is the Justice Lord's version of Superman.
That was cool.
It's a very nice.
I saw that. So
yeah, the very nice sculpt. And then yesterday, we like the royal we, like plural, I received the Superpowers version of Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. So there we go. Some retro Kenner goodness. This line is wonderful. I mean, the sculpts are wonderful. It's very frustrating though because the Walmart exclusives have been really hard to find. They are addressing it. One is Black Manta, and another is Reverse Flash. They basically never came up on Walmart.com, and not every area of the country got these figures. So The Black Manta, it's not uncommon to see it going for like $9,500 on eBay.
Oh wow!
It looks like in Wave 8 that they are going to have a Black Manta variant that's much more easy to obtain, so that's good. But that's the only complaint with that. They're doing really, really interesting stuff, really interesting releases. So, as somebody who, when I got back into comics, that was when the Superpowers line was going. Nice,
Did
nice
you ever pick them up at KB Toys?
Maybe. I don't think. There's a lot of stuff in the 90s I picked up at KB Toys, like the Wildcats series and the JLA from Hasbro.
Oh,
when they had the JLA series from Hasbro.
Oh, that's right.
I remember originally it was, what was the name of it? Extreme Justice, and then they reformatted them cheaply, and then they had other figures that came out. So I did get a lot of stuff from KB. I don't think I got Superpowers because they were fairly easy to find at ShopRite until the third wave. And then the third wave, the Cyborg is like impossible to find, and it goes for thousands now. I had to get a copy from Mexico of the Super Amigos version of Cyborg. So I did have the entire line, but the Cyborg was kind of had an asterisk. They were very hard to find. Shazam was very hard to find. Mr. Miracle was hard to find from that third wave back then. So. But I love Superpowers. Oh God, I love Superpowers. It was interesting because it was like Earth One figures, though Crisis took Earth One away. So it was just like a nice, like, immediate throwback to what wasn't in the comics at that time. It was nice.
I remember.
I love that line.
That was
beautiful sculpts.
That was the Superman I had. I had the Superpowers Superman with the fabric cape, which I thought was pretty neat. That immediately, of course, got lost because I wasn't collecting them. I was actually taking them out and play with them.
Oh God! I mean, as a kid, the things that we did to toys. Oh my God! Elevator. We had a game, Elevator Crash, where we took a shoebox and a fishing pole, and we would reel up the thing, and we were both, my friend Danny Weaver and I were just so obsessed with the Towering Inferno, that with when it's so bad when Jennifer Jones character, it's not so bad that they have her falling off a crane, it's supposed to be a rescue from one of the towers, but she falls off, and it's not not just that they have her fall off the rescue cart. They have her smash against the side of the next building. So that was our inspiration for Elevator Crash. So we wheel up these Migos and G.I. Joes, and then yank. Oh no, the elevator's gonna crash. And boom, and there'd be like heads popping off of things and stuff. Dumb kids. Oh Jesus, I could have, I could have a Lamborghini from some of those toys, what they're worth now. Jesus.
Oh man. Well, hey, we actually do have a comment from Twitch. Hing Kodiak. Can Magneto pick up Thor's hammer? Well,
yeah, he's done it before.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, something about the metal properties. I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm not sure when he did.
It was very easy to dismiss. He got
it. He's not worthy necessarily of handling it,
but he's Magneto.
He's Magneto.
I have to show you Magneto cosplay. This dude gave me a boner, and I never thought I'd get that from Magneto. So I'll have to send you that pic. I don't have it ready.
Well, I mean, like sort of like de-aged Magneto in like the early '90s X-Men, where he was frequently like shirtless and massive on.
This is different. I'll send you a pic. Yeah, and he seems like a nice guy too when I talk to him.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I got a boner. I got a Magneto boner.
Swallowed took a whole bunch of iron pills today, and
All right, let's wrap this show up. And when we wrap an episode of the Comic Book Bears podcast up, we do so with the segment we call the Woofs of the Week. I got to do this right. In the bear community, if you find a fella attractive, you woof at him. And we do something very similar here, where we present a woof, which might be a comic book or something comic book related, but it also might be a TV show or a film or a charitable initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener, or possibly viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start, as I always do, with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
well, it's taking all of my strength not to just gush all about Dune Part 2. Mm-hmm. We will talk about that at some later point. So my backup, of course, is the return for season 5 of Dark Side of the Ring. Vice's.
Oh God, was that terrible? That was heartbreaking.
Yeah. So
John Testa. Oh my God.
Yeah, earthquake.
Yeah.
My brain. Yeah. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the series, it basically started a whole franchise over on the Vice channel of Dark Side of stuff, but Dark Side of the Ring is the original that goes through and tells the less pleasant stories, real
Tenta.
Stories.
I'm correcting myself. It was John Tenta, not Testa.
Tenta. But yeah, it goes through the history of, wrestlers.
John Testa's a friend of mine. Sorry.
Poor Doug Testa, man. That goes through the histories of all these wrestlers that, some had very sordid lives. Some of them had very tragic lives. But it kind of goes through that. And in fact, interestingly enough, one of the critically acclaimed movies of the past several months, The Iron Claw, was inspired actually by an episode in first season. Obviously, the story itself has been, it's been known, but I think the episode from Dark Side of the Ring of the Von Erich family inspired the filmmakers to actually go out and make this movie, which was pretty neat. But it's a very inspirational. Not inspirational, but a very fascinating and unique look at a lot of these wrestlers and wrestling history for people who, either were fascinated with it or, are big fans, and people who may not be huge wrestling fans, to find out about, sort of the lives of, some of these big wrestlers, big names, and even some less so. But yeah, so it's back. It's on Vice channel, which I know is kind of hard to get in some markets, but I believe it does air afterwards on Hulu. And I think one of the other streaming services may be Paramount or Peacock.
And I will say, with this particular episode with John Tenta, I mean, so many of these stories have been, and so many of these wrestlers' downfalls have been tied up with substance abuse and domestic violence and things along those lines. And this just didn't factor into this guy's life at all. And it was refreshing to see a story, not refreshing because it's a very sad story, but it was, I thought, valuable to see somebody that wasn't part of their equation and wasn't part of their wrestling narrative.
Yeah. But so if you like being depressed by true, very dark stories of wrestling,
but watching this, they have the formula down now. I think, and I think this was just, in terms of the structure, like probably the best episode they created, apart from some of the episodes based around the events. That I just thought this was really, really well done.
I actually, there's been some great, like the Von Erich episode is one of my favorites, just because it's just like one punch to the chest after another with that, tragic story all around. But also the two-parter about Chris Benoit, that was hard. That was hard to watch, but also very great.
Yeah. And some of the episodes about the, the territories that fell apart too. I think those have been pretty interesting. What is it? Is it third or fourth season?
This is, I believe, the 5th season. This is the
Fifth.
5th
Oh
season.
my god! Wow.
Yeah. So, and if you're a fan of this, then you can go back and check out Dark Side of Football, which was only lasted 1 season. Dark Side of the 90s, Dark Side of the 2000s, and Dark Side of Comedy, which just finished its 2nd season.
Yeah, and there's also some other, like, I would say Sex Before the Internet is definitely
Sex Before Internet, Tales from the Territories to go with that.
These are complimentary series as well.
Yeah. So, but check them out.
Okay. My Wolf of the Week goes to a YouTube video series. You see, there's a lot of music back here, but one act you've probably never heard me talk about much is Led Zeppelin. I've always had a lot of affection for Led Zeppelin, but they're not in the Beatles Who, Manic Street Preachers, Elvis Costello Jam, quintet. They're not. These are the biggies over here. This rack. They're not over here. Led Zeppelin's over there in the standard L's. But there's a gentleman. The name of the YouTube channel is Led Zeppelin Stories. And let me just get this gentleman's name. I had this up and I foolishly let it down. Jose Calvo Monturoyal. He's from Costa Rica. He's somebody that was born in the 80s, so he never had any firsthand knowledge of Led Zeppelin growing up, but became a massive fan. And sometimes, those are the people that tell the best stories, because they're the most obsessive, because there's, they can't say I saw them when. And he gets into the weeds. He hasn't done every album yet. He's done the 4th album, Runes. He's done Houses of the Holy. He's done Presence. He's done In Through the Outdoor. He's done a lot of the premier concerts that Led Zeppelin were involved with. And he goes into the weeds, and it's crafted in a way that you don't mind, that somebody super fanning out, because he's entertaining enough. Just like there's an episode of the New Yardbirds, which is the band that basically was Led Zeppelin, but once Jimmy Page satisfied the Yardbirds' existing concert commitments, it became Led Zeppelin. And he goes into the history of the Zeppelin company in that. I mean, he pulls everything together, and it's really well done. And he also posts a few videos of him playing guitar, and he's a damn good guitarist, and he's easy on the eyes too, for us bear folks. So I really enjoyed this channel, Led Zeppelin Stories, and by JCM, or Jose Calvo Montioro. I'll just give you some of the tangents he goes on. His first new Led Zeppelin was the BBC album, which came out around the same time as Spice World by the Spice Girls. And this is a 10-year-old kid at this point, and he starts talking about his love for Spice World, and it's legitimate, and he makes points I never thought about, and I just love his love of music. Let me put it that way. I love his love of music, and these are really well done, hold your attention videos, and I can't wait for him to span everything, from the first album through the 3rd album, which haven't been touched yet, and just absolutely loving this series. Loving it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Listening to or watching somebody who really absolutely loves the subject, you can just kind of pick up that excitement, and it gets infectious and just makes you want to enjoy more of what they're, what the stories that they're telling, and where they're going with it, and really want to follow them down that rabbit hole. Yeah. So that's really awesome. It's cool.
And sometimes it's the personalization that really drags you in, about how hard he tried to get tickets for the reunion show, being in Costa Rica, trying to get a show, show for the ticket, which became the Mothership album and DVD, for the one show that Led Zeppelin did as a reunion. At that time, it's just a really well done series, really well done. Yeah. That's my Wolf of the Week. All right, well, thank you for joining us, Steve. for our next show, do we have more guests? I know we've been guest heavy lately.
I think our next show, we do not have anybody lined up at this point. Maybe I'll have to check out. We've had so many people. We've had so many people on who want to come on, which is really great.
We got to tell people we couldn't host them. You know,
we can't. We've already got it booked.
We never.
But it's good. I love being able to to come and have them come on and like highlight their work and talk about what they do, and it's always really fun to really kind of feature feature independent artists.
I wasn't present at the beginning, and thank you for shepherding it, and thank you, Caleb, for shepherding the show last week. Do you want to take over the wrap up?
No.
Okay.
No, that is your role. I do not have the script down. I have not been practicing. Like I think Caleb kind of goes home after the show, and he just sort of like in the mirror is like, if you want to like he can just kind of do that in the mirror. Like I'm not there.
All right. Well, again, we are the Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Instagram and the Blue Sky and the Threads and some other portals as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us, you can do so through Apple Podcasts, through Spotify, and many of the other podcatching platforms. Until next time, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
And I'm Steve Morey.
You're going to hear a woof and an explosion if you're listening to the audio version. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care, everyone.
Woof.